Okay, so I made an entire video yesterday that was like almost 20 minutes long. It was like 18 or 19 minutes. And I rendered it out, got it nice and ready for YouTube, put it on YouTube. I was just about to hit public on it and upload it to the masses. And then I looked and quickly realized that I uploaded that same exact story time a week ago. And I was so angry, and it was already like 9 or 10 at night, that I just gave up and went to bed. So now I'm here making another video that is hopefully not a re-upload. I triple checked. It's not. So yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to apologize for missing that upload yesterday. I was on a crazy daily streak and I broke it. And that's kind of shitty of me. My bad, guys. But I'm maintaining it after this. You know, we're going to keep it pushing. But if there's ever a time where I get really annoyed, sometimes I just need to take a step back and go sleep for 8 hours. And that's what I had to do yesterday. But anyway, guys, today's story time is a crazy one. It's also a funny one, and I thought you guys would enjoy it. And yeah, let's talk about it. So today's story time all starts off back when I was 17 years old, okay? Now, when I was 17 years old, I had a specific group of friends that I was pretty close with. I'll just give them some names. I'm not going to use their real names to keep their identities hidden, but I hung out with my friend Justin a lot, my friend Aaron a lot, and my buddy Jake, okay? Now, Jake, specifically, he had very strict parents. Like, his parents, if they caught him doing anything whatsoever, he would get grounded for sometimes like months on end. And shit was very serious in his household, to say the least. Like, he could not screw up. But the thing about Jake is, because his parents were so strict, he was more inclined to go against them, if you know what I mean. Like, you ever have someone tell you, like, hey, don't do that, and it makes you want to do it even more? That's exactly what Jake was like all of the time. So, you know, his parents were always about like, hey, don't smoke weed. Don't go and hang out with your friends past your curfew. Don't sneak out of the house. And he did all of those things and some. And this all starts off as a regular day when I was 17. I was sitting in my room just doing nothing. I was just watching Jersey Shore, bored out of my mind, not really doing a whole lot. And I got a text message from none other than Jake. And he's like, yo, what are you up to tonight? And I was like, nothing. Now, at this point, I had dropped out of school, so I had no school the next day. But Jake did. And I thought that was weird. So I hit him back and I was like, wait, don't you have school tomorrow? Why are you asking me what I'm doing tonight? Like, you can't be out late. You have like an 8 p.m. curfew. He's like, nah, fuck that. I'm not going. I'm going to skip tomorrow. I'm like, so you're going to skip tomorrow and be out past your curfew? I don't think that's a good idea, Jake. Like, your parents will probably fucking ground you for 6 months. He's like, you know what? I don't care. And I'm like, all right, man. Just don't say I didn't warn you. So fast forward like an hour later, Jake and me linked up at a park near my house. We both met there because we live close to it. And we smoked a little bit of weed, okay? And at this point, it was like 8:30. So it was already like past his curfew, and his parents started to call his phone and stuff. And he just kept putting it to voicemail, like just completely ignoring them. And we kept smoking at this park. And this specific park that we were at, nobody really knew about. Like, obviously people in the community knew about it, but like our parents didn't. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like our secret spot, and we kind of figured that we would never get caught there no matter what. So yeah, we just kind of, you know, hung out there for about 30 more minutes. At this point, it was probably about 9 o'clock at night. And we were just smoking, chilling, talking, enjoying our night, right? And then all of a sudden, I see an SUV pulling up to the parking lot of this park. Keep in mind, it's like 9 at night. Nobody's pulling up to play basketball. Nobody's pulling up to go on the playground. Like, whoever's pulling up is one, either a cop patrolling the park to make sure nobody's doing what we're doing, you know, smoking weed or doing something bad, or it's just somebody there to, you know, hang out at the park like we were doing and smoke some weed. Unfortunately, it wasn't either of those things. I quickly realized, and so did Jake, that it was his mom's SUV that pulled up. And both doors swung open, and his mom and his dad both got out of the car and started full speed sprinting to the bench we were sitting on with the craziest look in their eyes, like a look of just like they were gonna kill us both. It was insane. Now I had two choices: get up and run, or sit there and face the wrath of Jake's parents and deal with that. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna run. So I got up and I ran as fast as I possibly could into the woods behind the park and just did not look back. I ran for probably a quarter to a half a mile without looking back. And at this point, I didn't hear anybody yelling my name to stop, like, hey, stop, Austin, stop, or like, you know, anyone behind me. So I figured it was okay to stop and look back. So I stopped running and I turned around and I see Jake's dad full fucking speed chasing me. and like he's close. So I had to start running again. But at this point, it was too late because he was already so close and I had stopped. And he fucking dove and tackled me to the ground. And I was like, get the fuck off me. He's like, what are you doing? Smoking dope with my son? You're a horrible kid. You're a horrible influence. And he's fucking on top of me, holding me down. And I'm like, dude, get the fuck off me. You're assaulting a 17-year-old kid. And he would not let up. So he ends up holding me on the ground for like a minute until we both like caught our breath. And he gets up and he puts me in like a fucking headlock. And he walks me back to the bench that Jake and his mom were sitting on. And his mom was in tears crying. You would think that they just caught their son trying heroin or something, the way that they viewed smoking weed. She was in tears hysterically. And this dude's got me in a fucking headlock. And we get back to the bench. He sits me down on it. And he goes, what's your parents' phone number? Now. And I go, I'm not giving you that. He goes, what's their number? Now. Keep in mind, I'm 17 at this point, about to turn 18. My parents did not care that I smoked a little bit of weed, okay? Like, at this point, YouTube was my full-time career. My parents were basically treating me like an adult because I was making my own money and kind of out on my own, doing my own thing. And they trusted me. And they knew there was way worse things I could be doing than, you know, smoking a little bit of weed. So I was like, nah, I'm not giving you their number. Like, they don't care about this shit. And he's like, if you don't give me their number, I'm calling the police on you. And I'm like, oh my fuck, fine. So I gave him my mom's cell phone number because it was either that or I talked to the cops. So I gave him my mom's cell phone. He calls her up and proceeds to tell her that I sold weed to their son and that I was a bad influence and that they just caught me smoking their son up, which was all bullshit, keep in mind. I met him there to smoke his weed, not any of mine. I didn't even have any weed at the time. And I didn't sell him any because I'm not a fucking drug dealer. And I was like, that's bullshit. Stop lying to my mom. He's like, sit the fuck down. And I was like, no. He's like getting up in my face, yelling at me. I can hear my mom through the phone screaming at him to stop yelling at me and that she'll take care of it when she's there and that she's on her way now. And about 5-10 minutes later, my mom pulled up because she lived right down the street, just like they did. She gets out of her car. She walks up. And you could just tell that she didn't want to deal with this situation. She didn't care that we were smoking weed. We were 17 years old. Like, there were so many worse things we could be doing. But she had to be there. She had to be the parent because technically we were still in the wrong. So, you know, she was being good. But she walked up to us and she goes, all right, get in the car, Austin. And then she looked over at the dad and she's like, hey, I'm sorry you guys had to deal with this. Like, it won't be a problem ever again. But just to clarify, my son didn't sell your son any weed. I would know if he was a drug dealer. He's not. And the guy goes, are you sure about that? Because I've heard differently. And she goes, what have you heard about my son? And he's like, that he sells weed and other hard drugs. And she goes, and other hard drugs? Where are you getting your info from? And he goes, I won't disclose my source. And she goes, I think your source is your ass. And I just started dying laughing because she had my back in this. And that's because she knew that I wasn't a drug dealer. Like, why would I need to sell drugs when I'm a fucking YouTuber? That just makes no sense. Anyway, after she said that he was basically, you know, talking out of his ass, they both got real offended. They gave her like a really dirty look, and the dad started raising his voice at my mom, and then I chimed in. And I was like, hey, excuse me, sir, why don't you tell my mom about how you tackled me in the forest and put me in a headlock? And she looks at him with a death stare. And she goes, what? And he goes, it was just a restraining method. I wasn't going to hurt him. I just had to get him, you know, settled down. And then I brought him here and I had my arm around his neck, but I wasn't choking him or anything. Like, he's being dramatic. And she goes, I don't give a fuck how dramatic he's being. You just admitted to putting your hands on my kid. In what world is that okay? And he's like, well, he was running. And she goes, I don't fucking care. He's not your kid. You don't chase him. You don't restrain him. You don't touch him. Like, are you serious? You're lucky I don't slap you. And then the mom gets involved and they're both like up in my mom's face. And she's like, don't talk to my husband that way. So I get in between them because, you know, now it's getting a little serious. And Jake gets in between them too. And we're like breaking them up. And I was like, all right, I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't have said anything. Let's just go home. And my mom's like, no, fuck that. How about I call the cops on you guys and your son because he had the weed, he brought it here, and then you blame my son for being a drug dealer and tackle him and put him in a headlock? Are you fucking serious? And And I was like, all right, listen, guys, stop. It's fine. It's over. Let's leave now. And the guy goes, yeah, good idea. Don't ever talk to my kid again. And then Jake chimes in. He goes, fuck you, Dad. And he turns around and he runs away. Just runs off into the nighttime. Even their own son was fed up with their shit. So after this, me and my mom essentially just kind of said, fuck you and have a nice day to them in the nicest way possible. We pretty much just said, have a good one. We won't be seeing you guys anymore. Got in the car, drove back to my house. The whole ride home, my mom had my back about the whole situation. It was very, very wholesome because she knew it was bullshit. She knew I'm not out here selling drugs. She knew I'm not some awful person. And she knew that we were just two 17-year-old kids smoking a little bit of weed. And even though that's technically wrong, like I will admit it's technically illegal and not good, she knew that the whole situation was overblown and could have been handled way better. Like if my mom was the one to pull up in that situation, she probably would have just took the weed and been like, all right, I'm taking you both home. And that would have been the end of it. But no, this dude had to go like fucking military G.I. Joe and tackle me and then put me in a headlock and fucking drag me back to a bench and sit me down and interrogate me like I'm some fucking criminal. But yeah, anyway, it's all over with. Me and Jake are still friends to this day. We never stopped hanging out because shortly after this happened, we both turned 18 and we just started hanging out again because their parents no longer had any control over him and he got an apartment with his buddy. So like we were good. And we still are. And we talk about this story all the time and laugh about it. And here I am telling it to you guys. So yeah, that's one of the craziest / funniest times I've been caught smoking weed. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below. And subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.